All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect a starting time. That is correct, 7:28. And with that said, Clerk Jackson, would you please take the roll?
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Daniels.
Present.
Councilmember Garza. Here. Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Jackson. Present. Councilmember Spatafor. Councilmember Spitzley. Here. Councilmember Wood.
Here.
We have a quorum, one absent.
All right, that takes us to our meditation and pledge of allegiance. Do we have anybody that we need to remember tonight as part of our moment of meditation? Looking to the mayor, no. City clerk's office, council colleagues. All right, if you would please rise and join me and the council in a moment of meditation, followed by the pledge of allegiance. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before us, we have printed council proceedings.
And we are actually not going to look at those tonight, folks. We didn't actually have that correction in front of us and in our packet, so we will take a look at that next time.
Then consideration late items.
Vice President Wood.
President Hussein, I would move for the suspension of Rule 9. It is needed to allow for the consideration of late items as part of the regular portion of the meeting. And that late item is a referral for a pilot for the property on Hillsdale.
All right, there is a motion on the floor. Further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. Oh, sorry, Vice President Wood.
We're back again to late items at the last minute. This is a pilot for us to set a public hearing and as a referral to also get it to development and planning. This pilot, as the Economic Development Department knows, we get them in March and October. It's March and October. This is August, September. Yeah, October, correct. And so the concern is that it's easy to count backwards and figure out when this needs to be to council so that we're not addressing this as a late item. So I just want, again, to, put this out here. It's my understanding that, and I'd be glad to ask Jim if he'd like to weigh in on this. It's my understanding that the reason that this is a late item, the director indicated that this was a holdup in the city attorney's office.
Yeah, and before we get to the city attorney, my understanding, so this deals with the property, city property, Griffin Group being the purchaser. They actually, my understanding, had applied to MISTA for a 10%. They were denied back in, I believe it was in May.
Yeah.
And so we do have some documents from EDP. The staff report was written on July 25th. And then per some of the documents we also received from EDP, the ordinance is actually dated August 1st. And so with that being said, although we've heard that this was on the city attorney, clearly, as the ordinance is dated August 1st, and this wasn't even entered into Laserfish, I think until Thursday after 4:30 p.m., I don't think we can put this on the city attorney's office.
We held nothing up. Lisa, you want to respond to that?
Sure, yeah. These were reviewed in our office as early as July and approved. They were not put into Laserfish, as Council President indicated that it wasn't in Laserfish until Thursday afternoon. And so there was nothing from the OCA standpoint that needed to be done. We had been done with our task for quite some time.
Councilwoman Spitzley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Didn't we have a presentation on this earlier in the year? Like, when did we have a presentation on this?
This was property that we sold.
Right.
And they had indicated that they were going to go for a 10% pilot. It's our understanding that they were turned down for that 10% pilot. So now they're coming back to us for a different pilot that would require council approval.
Yeah, and I'm not certain as to what the percentage is, but what we're being told is that they were denied due to the fact that it was a 10%, which they can move forward by right. Mayor Shore.
It's 4%.
Okay, I could be wrong, but it's my recollection that this went in the last round. Yes, council member, there was a presentation. I think it was less than 10%, but again, I can be wrong. But there was a technical issue in the application at MISTA, and MISTA rejected the proposal. MISTA said it was a great proposal, but there was a technical issue. We were not happy about them telling us after the fact that there was a technical issue, and it didn't make the last round, and now we're trying to get it into the October round. And again, that's my understanding, is it was late because they didn't count backwards from the October round and the number of council meetings, the public hearing and committee. And I think they realized that if they waited 2 weeks, they wouldn't make the October deadline. But this was before council once. Again, I don't remember the percentage number. It may have been 10, but I don't remember. But I know that this was not approved at MISTA because of a technical glitch with the sponsored developer's application, and now we're trying again.
Okay, and that's great, but that's not,
Yeah.
yep, I actually have Councilwoman Spitzley and the Vice President Wood. But that's not what we heard. What we heard was that their application for credits essentially wasn't approved because it was a 10% as opposed to something lower. So they were coming now with a 4% request. So we're gonna need clarification. The other piece is, if in fact, because we've had this question over and over, particularly in the Development and Planning Committee, but if MISTA is in fact denying tax credits based on the percentage of a pilot that's been approved by a municipality, we need a representative in my opinion, from MISTA to talk to that. And one of the reasons is, number one, I want certainty that that's actually happening. Number two, we need to be the lead advocates in terms of that process has to end. Because essentially what they're doing is ensuring that low-income and affordable housing in cities such as ours are not generating enough revenue for us to actually go back and provide the services that those people within those units so desperately deserve. And so that is, I'm not understanding that philosophy. But in any event, that can all get cleared up, I think, as part of the public hearing process. Councilwoman Spitzley, then Vice President Wood.
I pass, thank you.
Vice President Wood.
And just for clarification, which I'm sure you were well aware of, Mayor, 5% pilot or more does not require council approval. 5% or more does not require council approval. They might have applied for a 10%, but anything 5% or more does not require council approval. We've had this discussion before. So, am I wrong?
I believe it's anything under 10%.
It's 10%.
10%, they can move forward by right, and typically what happens is the administration might write a letter of support,
Okay.
but they can move forward with that request by right.
All right.
10%. And again, I'm texting back and forth with Brian. I don't think that's accurate. I'm not sure where that came from. We'll clear that up. I happen to know that it was rejected because of a technical issue, not because it was a 10%. I will find out the numbers, but I don't think that's accurate, but we will certainly find out. But
Well, we can only rely on the information that our office manager was provided by Brian.
I don't think he provided that because he literally said to me, "Who said that?" He didn't hear that either. We just need to figure out where the communication breakdown was.
Okay, we can
I don't
certainly
think-
find out.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Spitzley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree that we need to have, I would like to have somebody from HUD to come in and explain this too, because I don't think that they're necessarily denying if it's 10%, but you get higher points, I believe, if your pilot is lower. That's what I believe. And so while they may not be denying it, it still puts a chilling effect on us and it encourages, it may encourage. Now, that may not be accurate, and if it's not accurate, then yeah, we should have somebody here to explain it. But that's my impression, is that you get higher points for that. Or you get, higher points or higher consideration.
Councilman Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So yes, we did see this at Development and Planning. Patricia, we were there, I was there. Councilman Jackson was there as well. Now, when was it denied? You know, how long ago was that? Because, I mean, we're receiving, once again, another late item.
It was denied in May in terms of the information we received.
Okay, so it was denied in May. You got May, June, July. We're in August now. We're once being tasked to accept a late item again, and now we have one department pitting it on another department saying that, you know, this is the reason why. I mean, that's kind of a little frustrating that once again this is happening.
It was, just to become clear, it was denied in, I believe it was March, but there was an appeal made by the developer, and I don't know when the appeal resulted. And again, the intention was to have this go in normal, but my understanding is that ED&P counted backwards from the final day and realized it had to go in today rather than in 2 weeks. So the intention was certainly to send it through your process, and getting it in late today starts the process rather than, we're not asking you to take this up and consider it in one day. We're just asking you to put it on the agenda and refer it to committee. That way it goes to committee, it goes through the process, it goes to the public hearing, it takes the however many weeks it takes through the process. They just didn't want to miss that. So we're asking you to put it on the agenda late, not to run it late. If we were asking you to run it late, I would totally understand that, but this is just putting it on the agenda to get referred to committee.
March 14th, Jeremy.
All right.
It was on council for action.
All right, well, thank you. And just so you know, we do have a pretty packed agenda for the development planning this Wednesday, and that will be the last item on the list. So hopefully your staff are still able to stay there and work if we are past 5 o'clock, because typically they're not.
All right, seeing no other questions or comments, there's a motion on the floor to suspend Rule 9 to allow for the two late items. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries.
Next, we are to comments by council member and the city clerk.
All right, do we have any council member comments tonight? Mr. Daniels, Councilman Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of things. August 13th, we have Lansing Pride in Old Town from 1 to 10 p.m. And then the East Side Summerfest is August 27th from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. So a lot of fun things going on in the First Ward.
All right, do we have others? All right, I just have a couple. One, in terms of, there's been a lot of communication in the southwest, like the most southwest portion of Southwest Lansing regarding Lansing Eaton Neighborhood Organization. One of the conversations has been on, really branding for the neighborhood, signage, things like that. And so that neighborhood, I believe we actually have the president of that neighborhood with us tonight, Linda Appling, has done quite a bit to advocate for new signage and street sign toppers and things like that. Because of that, or due to that, and some of their successful efforts, we actually have some outdated, some antiquated signage that needs to get brought down. And then there's going to be some sprucing up of some of the new signage with flowers and mulching and things like that. And so we have actually been invited by Capital Area Housing Partnership. We actually have Raleigh Van Fossen with us tonight to help out with that effort. That is actually going to be this Saturday, August 13th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's at the entrance of the Leno neighborhood on Glenburn. And so there's actually a kind of outdated sign that's in the median right there. That's going to actually be pulled up, at least that's my understanding. And then the new sign, it's a concrete sign. It's absolutely beautiful. Adjacent to that will actually, again, there will be some planting of flowers, mulching, cleaning up of that area, that type of thing. So if you are interested, they are looking for a few more volunteers. So particularly folks that live in the Lansing Eaton neighborhood area, but anybody can certainly stop by and lend a hand. Also, we've had a number of questions regarding South Waverly Road construction. I think access to businesses has been a huge concern. But then also, probably for the last couple of years, I've been having conversations with regards to, I should say with Andrew Kilpatrick of Public Services, with regards to that particular stretch. So we're actually right now looking at Glenburn all the way up to Holmes. And we've talked to local business owners, we've talked to residents, and many folks would like to see some type of restriping of that area, some type of lane diet to maybe reduce the speed a little bit, also make the area a little bit more conducive for conducting business and for folks getting into and out of their neighborhoods, particularly in the Churchill Downs neighborhood, as well as Leno neighborhood. In any event, I have asked our mayor, as well as Andrew Kilpatrick, to get back with me on a few things. Number one, signage in the area to let folks know that those area businesses are still open, particularly the Dollar General. There's a number of restaurants in the Waverly and Holmes Plaza that have said they've already seen a decline in business. So we'd like to see some additional signage there. And then also, there was a promise made that once we actually began moving forward with the road construction, that there would be some neighborhood outreach to actually discuss what the neighborhood would like to see in terms of the striping, in terms of the lane diets, and whether or not, that's something that, number one, is amenable, but also doable. And so I'm going to call on the administration again. I actually reached out to both the mayor and our public service director maybe yesterday or the day before, and have yet to hear, but I know we'll connect on that, and hopefully we can get that meeting set up soon. And then lastly, there's been a lot of conversation, maybe over the last couple meetings, but also a lot of correspondence through email and calls with regards to transparency in terms of our proceedings here. And let me tell you, I really appreciate the engagement. I certainly appreciate the spirit of those emails. I've had conversations with a number of you over the phones, folks that are at home that are not here tonight, over the phone and through email, as well as my council colleagues have done so as well. A couple things. Number one, please understand that we strive to be as transparent as we possibly can. And I say that with a straight face. We do, at this time, air our meetings on City TV. We do live stream on our website. We do air past meetings several times weekly on City TV. We do archive all council meetings on our website and YouTube. We do upload our agendas and minutes online. We do allow for written public comment, either through first-class mail or email. And contrary to what some of the comments that came in via email and even over the phone, contrary to some of what I heard, I promise you that most of us, if not all of us, endeavor to read through those. And truly, it does give us the opportunity to vet those and reflect on those in a different way. And it also gives us an opportunity when there's, as an example, a need for clarification, to actually kind of engage in a back and forth, which obviously public comment as part of council meetings does not allow for. What we are going to do with regards to the written public comment is we are going to start to acknowledge the fact that we have had public comment on X, Y, and Z, and this person is in support of or not in support of because. So we're going to try to add a layer of transparency there. But again, we do have that aspect as well. We have worked closely with the city attorney's office to ensure not only that we are compliant with Open Meetings Act in terms of accommodations, but also that we go a step further in terms of what we have at our disposal in terms of capacity, in terms of staffing, in terms of budget. And again, with a straight face, I can say at this point, not that we can't do better and that we won't strive to do better, but we are the most transparent layer of government, I think, in the Tri-County region. We think of county commission, I think they're doing an incredible job. Some folks did reference the fact that they're Zooming their meetings. The reason they're Zooming their meetings, I did get with some county commissioners and former county commissioners, is because they worked a few years ago to do what we do. They wanted to live broadcast, they wanted to live stream, and they simply could not do it with their budget and their staffing. And so what they did at that time was they actually passed a resolution that required that they began to record their meetings, to audio record. Because of COVID, they made the decision to move forward with a Zoom option because with regards to staffing, it was something that they could accommodate. However, one of the things that they're not doing that we're doing, as an example, we have one city staffer working tonight. They're not at the same time live broadcasting, live streaming, dealing with dozens of microphones, dealing with dozens of cameras, working presentations and other electronic files and things like that have been brought forth by presenters. And so again, and that's not to criticize them in any measure, because they're doing what they can do with the staffing and the budget that they have at their disposal, but they are able to do that because they're not doing so many of those other things that we're doing. That being said, we still take the concerns very seriously, and we're going to try to see what we can do in terms of making particularly our committee meetings more transparent. One of the things that I've heard from a number of people that I've talked to is that, Adam, one of the biggest concerns is that there is zero transparency in terms of those committee meetings. Now, we do keep meeting minutes, obviously. We do comply with Open Meetings Act. We do allow for written public comment and the like. But I have to agree. And in a perfect world, we would broadcast those, we would record those, we would archive those. And so council leadership, myself and Vice President Wood, have set up a meeting with City TV to start to investigate what we can do with the staffing and the budget that we have in place with regards to our own council meetings as well as our committee meetings. And then, and it might require in the future that we take a look at budget priorities and budget, there might be some budget implication in terms of actually being able to provide for staffing, as an example, okay, one of many examples. But I did want to update folks that we do have a meeting set up, I believe, within the next week with City TV to begin to vet some of these issues, okay? Because again, transparency, I promise you, does matter to us, okay? So I wanted to lead with that tonight. That being said, Clerk Jackson.
Thank you. On behalf of Clerk Chris Hope, I want to thank all the election workers, clerk staff, the 311 office, and the voters for their participation in last week's primary. We had 18,807 voters, which was a 21% turnout. We're already gearing up for the November 8th election and need to recruit more people to work in the precincts. You could sign up at lansingvotes.gov, and we're starting pay at $12 an hour. And lastly, I want to thank Suella, who's been with us this summer, and we appreciate your help, and best of luck at U of M in the fall. So next, we're at the community event announcements.
Can
Yeah,
you move
just-
the mic down a little bit? There.
And then
Good.
give us a quick test, and if not, we'll have to work with it.
I would move it up a
Faith,
little bit.
yep. Nope. Faith, can we turn the volume up on that mic just a bit?
You want me to read them all?
Okay, try now.
What's the topic?
Test, test. Oh, yeah. Yep. The Lansing Lightning semi-pro football team would like to announce a equipment drive for local youth football teams. This equipment can be dropped off during the Lansing Lightning second round playoff game on this Saturday at Charlotte Mac Global Field at 5 p.m. If that time and place does not work out for you, please call 517-894-3547 to schedule an appointment, or check out our Facebook page and send us a message when and where we can pick up that equipment for our local youth football teams. Thank you.
Thank you. And next.
The City of Lansing Parks and Recreation Department, along with the Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries, is co-hosting the 6th Annual Service of Remembrance on Sunday, August 28th at 3 p.m. in the Fratcher Memorial Garden inside Mount Hope Cemetery at 1800 East Mount Hope Avenue. This will be a special ceremony honoring the memory of loved ones interred in our city-owned cemeteries in 2021. And this includes readings, a special message, music, a recitation of the names of those who were passed, and candle lighting and light refreshments as well. It's handicap accessible and no RSVP is necessary. So again, it's the 28th, Sunday at 3 p.m. in the Fratcher Memorial Garden Service of Remembrance. Thank you.
Okay. Any more?
Hello, I am Zero, in situ representative of Ward 2 of the People's Council of Lansing. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. I would like to extend a thank you to the Bryans for meeting with us last week at our Monday People's Council meeting. I'm sure you can both attest to the passions about the variety of crises facing that being experienced across. Oops, forgot to put on my glasses. That's why.
Sir, you have 1 minute, and you want to make sure the event announcement is.
So I just wanted to thank Brian and Brian for coming out to our People's Council meeting. We will be meeting once again to discuss all of the things that we have been doing, which include our uncompromised accessibility to the democratic process, ensuring transparency, securing equitable futures for all the residents of our fine city. Thank you. Once again, it's Monday, 7:30, Fledge, 1300 Eureka Street, Lansing, 48912. Thank you.
All right, we're next to the mayor's comment. Oh,
Hello, Erica Lynn from the Village Lansing. We will be having a back-to-school extravaganza Saturday, August 20th at the Village Lansing from 9 a.m. to noon. That is at 3525 South MLK Boulevard, Suite G. It'll be in the parking lot. We will be giving away backpacks filled with school supplies to Lansing area students. This is a collaboration between LAFCU and Two Men in a Truck, with sponsorship from the State of Michigan Treasury Department. If you are interested in donating, we will be accepting donations till the 17th at any LAFCU location. You can drop off supplies or backpacks, and then until August 20th, Monday, Wednesday, or Friday at the Village Lansing. So if you're interested in donating, you can drop in, again, any LAFCU location or at the Village Lansing Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon to 5. If you're interested in sponsoring or partnering in any other way, just shoot us an email. If you want more information, visit www.thevillagelansing.org, message us on Facebook, or email us at thevillagelansing@gmail.com. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Lots of events in the city.
Hi, Shannon Norris. I live on Ward 4 and have a business in Ward 1. I'm also a member of the East Side Neighborhood Organization Board, and I wanted to invite everybody to the East Side Summerfest on Saturday, August 27. That starts at 11 a.m. and goes until 10 p.m. There will be food trucks, vendors, musical performances. It will be from Marshall down to Hayford, and the food trucks will be in the Liberty Church parking lot. So we hope to see everybody come out. It's free to walk around, and we hope to see everybody there. Thank you.
Hello, Jerry Norris, Ward 4, business in Ward 1. I want to go through some quick recurring events that we have. Every Monday at 6:30, we have a refuge recovery meeting, which is an alternative to the kind of God-based NA meetings, and those are accepted by the court, and I don't think enough people know about them. Thursday, sorry, I forget the date, what Thursday is, the 11th, the LHC residents from 6 to 8, we're having a resources party. We're not spreading misinformation. We are giving out basic needs and helping them get through this kind of tough time that all of them are having, whether you're selling the properties or not. Every Thursday from 12 to 2, we talk about the FLEDGE, Decentralized Autonomous Organization. We are trying to teach people blockchain, smart contract, and Web3 development skills. It's not a Bitcoin day trading club. It is real skills for the future. Zero already talked about the People's Council on Monday the 15th at 7:30. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m. we have 99 problems, but a pitch ain't one. Everybody is welcome to come and pitch their ideas. It's great practice for talking to City Council. The 20th, at the same time as the Village, we also have a back-to-school event by Mobile Cuts and More, where we have backpacks and haircuts and resources for kids that are going back to school. We also are trying to get resources for teachers who are going back to school. And then last but not least, every Tuesday at 4:30, we have Tech Tuesday, where we go through a plethora of different things like 3D printing, drones, coding, all kinds of things. So please come if you'd like.
Real quick, Jerry, so all of those are at the FLEDGE, correct? What's the address?
Sorry, yes, 1300 Eureka, all of them at the FLEDGE. Thank you, Adam.
Is that it? Okay. Speaker registration for public comment. You have 1 more minute to complete the blue sheet to speak on any items number 2 through 7 on the agenda, which includes the public hearing on the Walter French pilot, the consent agenda, and resolution for action. If you want to speak, you must sign in on the blue sheet and give it to Suella. So now to the mayor's comments.
All right.
Mayor Shore.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I wanted to lead off by letting this council and everyone who's listening know that we have a website up for ARPA, for folks to request dollars from ARPA. I know several of you have sent things our way. If you go to lansingmi.gov/grants, it is the very first item. It says ARPA grants. I'm going to try and get it on the homepage. We're going to put it on social media. We're going to spread the word, but I know this body passed something 2 weeks ago asking for transparency in the process and asking for sending this far and wide. So I'm going to ask you as well, please share this far and wide with any groups that you have. I'll remind everybody there's only $1.9 million, so if somebody requests $5 million or $10 million, it's probably not going to happen. But we will take the applications. We're looking at taking them through September 30th, so we will give a good month or so. We don't have the dollars yet, so but we'd like to give a good month or so for folks to request. It's not an in-depth, 10, 12, 20-page request. It's a basic sheet talking about the services and the request. So I ask this council, I ask the viewers, I ask anybody out there to spread the word on how to apply for the Rescue Plan Act $1.9 million pot. I would like to thank our first responders. They did a food drive. Our police officers did a food drive at Kroger on the south side, and it was awesome. And I want to thank the very many people that came by, talked to an officer on the way in, and then came out having bought something extra and putting it in that bin. Folks don't always have, folks are just, they're so giving, especially at that Kroger on the south side. It was very impressive, people coming in, thanking our police officers, buying an extra can of corn or whatever and throwing it in that bin for the needy in our community. So thank you to our first responders for doing that. Thank you to all the residents who contributed. Thanks to all of our neighborhood associations that we had something like 13 or so neighborhood night out events last Tuesday, and it was awesome just to see people out. I was at 4 or 5 of them, our police department, our fire department, my staff. We were all over them. I saw Councilman Jackson at one. I'm sure folks are at others. I just didn't get there. But it was just a great chance to see our residents out talking to each other and enjoying each other and having a positive interaction with our police officers and our firefighters. I want to congratulate Apex Nails grand opening on Mount Hope on the west side. Thanks to everybody who did the Car Capital Auto Show, which was packed right by I-5 in the Arioles Museum. It was incredible. Attorney General Nessel showed up, and she was great. If you haven't already noticed, the streets in front of City Hall, Capitol, and Grand are now 2 ways, most of the way. So we're really excited about that. It only took about 3 years. But with pandemic and with new equipment and everything that was done, we hope to have the next 2 streets, Pine and Walnut, in late September. And then the east-west Ottawa and Allegan streets, we're waiting on the state for a few things. Coming up, I know some things were mentioned. I won't repeat them. Lansing Pride is going on 1 to 10 on Saturday. I know Councilman Daniels mentioned that. I will be there and as part of that event. I'm excited for that. On August 10th is the Touch a Truck event at Francis Park. So kids can come and check out some of our equipment. And then on Thursday is the Senior Fair at Gardner. If you haven't been there, it is one of the most fun events. Folks are so happy, and they get a chance to have some food and to have some chatting and dancing, and so that should be a great event. So I am very much looking forward to the Mayor's Senior Fair at Gardner on Thursday. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're next to public comment on legislative matters. Legislative matter consists of the following items on the agenda. Number 2 through 7, which includes the public hearing on the Walter French pilot, the consent agenda, and resolution for action. Do you want me to go over these now, or I can? Yep. Okay, in the written comments, we have one written comment from Brooke Hall in support of the pilot, the Walter French pilot. And then I have another comment from Mary Pattenjay regarding the Groesbeck annexation and wants to annex all the township, not just the portion.
which we've actually already vetted by the city attorney's office. And I don't know, do you want to very briefly speak to that? Because we actually have got that question quite a bit.
Well, the question is, the resolutions that you have before you use a specific section of the Charter Township Act. That's the third way that some property can get annexed in a township. And that is when you have freestanding islands. And so the two resolutions deal with freestanding islands, and all it requires is a resolution of the legislative body. We put it on the ballot, and those residents in those two areas get to vote on whether or not they become part of the city. There are other options that require a petition. If anyone is interested, it's in the Charter Township Act. You can go to the Michigan Legislature's site, and it's in section 42, and it requires a petition, so many voters, and so on and so forth. Another way is the State Boundary Commission, which can actually take over, and you can file as residents a petition for the State Boundary Commission to look at annexation. But when the State Boundary Commission gets it, it could go further than what's petitioned. But anyway, that is another way to do it. So State Boundary Commission and Charter Township Act. There's two locations to find how you do an annexation or a combination.
Thank you. Clerk Jackson.
I think we want to give the overview then. Is that next of the public hearing of the pilot?
Yes. So Councilman Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So what we have before us, we have a scheduled public hearing in consideration of the payment in lieu of taxes, which is a pilot ordinance for Walter French at 1900 South Cedar Street. And I believe we have Raleigh Van Fossen from the Capital Area Housing Partnership and your team to present tonight. Please come down to the well.
Can we, yeah, okay, thank you. Want to just pull that over? Raleigh, just make sure that mic's on. Make sure the green light's on, you guys. And then when we have a respective speaker, just make sure you pull it in front of you, or we won't be able to hear you.
You got it.
Welcome. We appreciate you guys being here. All right, Raleigh, or start with Barb. Barb, take it away.
Hi. So just a brief note about Walter French, because I think we're all familiar with this project. It's a 76-unit affordable housing development that is an adaptive reuse of a historic building, utilizing multiple funding sources, including investing a portion of the developer fee back into the development of the project. The development will consist of 39 one-bedroom units and 31 two-bedroom units and 6 three-bedroom units, each between 650 and 1,250 square feet. For household.
Stop real quick. We're having some folks at the dais saying that they're having trouble hearing you.
Oh.
Pull it up. It looks like the green light's on. Yeah, just make sure.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. So 39 one-bedroom units, 31 two-bedroom units, and 6 three-bedroom units, each between 650 and 1,250 square feet, for households at or below 60% of area median income. This development already has been awarded a LIHTC reservation from MSHDA. Earlier this year, the City Council previously agreed to a 7% pilot for this, 6% pilot for this development. However, a funding gap due to the rising cost of construction and financing costs has forced Capital Area Housing Partnership to return and request a 4% pilot, which will help the developer with the funding gap and bring the development to fruition.
Thanks, Barb, and thank you, Council President and other members for allowing us to come before you yet again to ask for your support of the Walter French project. As Barb indicated, I want to put some numbers to it. We've been impacted as a developer by the COVID-19 pandemic and the construction trade industry to the rise of costs and materials. and the increased inflation and interest rate we're seeing across some of the permanent debt that's included in this project. That, in numbers' sake, is about close to $640,000 increase in project costs since the last time this body approved the 6% pilot. Certainly, it wasn't our desire to have to come back and ask you. I think we are one of the few developers who've worked with you in recent years to not go for the lowest pilot from the first round. I think that shows our support and willingness to try to work on all funding sources out there and available. But unfortunately, I couldn't predict the impact that the pandemic would have on the construction market and the cost of materials. So unfortunately, we are back to ask you for support. But I want to be clear that that support isn't alone. We as a developer have increased the amount of funding we're putting into the project. And so we're investing an additional $500,000. And so the total amount of funding that Capital Area Housing Partnership is putting in is close to 1.8. Again, that's about a $500,000 increase since the last time we spoke to you. I believe you've received some figures, hopefully in your council packet, that show you the differences of a 6% versus a 4% pilot. It's roughly about a $10,000 difference in the annual taxes that the city would have collected if we stuck with a 6%. But my hope and desire is that your support of the desperate need for affordable housing in our community, along with the other narratives that this project brings forward, the historic renovation of one of Lansing's few remaining properties on the National Historic Registry, comes to fruition. But I'm happy if there's a time for questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Do we have any questions? Vice President Wood.
Raleigh, I know that there was also a proposal that council was aware of for additional money from the state.
Sure.
And I think that's $5 million. Can you explain to all of us what those dollars that we're talking about are for?
Absolutely. So the pilot, first and foremost, is to the residential component only of the building. If you're familiar with the project, it would be hard-pressed not to know the Walter French building if you're a resident here in the city of Lansing. But the first 3 floors of the corridors that are along Mount Hope and Cedar, those are the residential portions of the building. That is where the pilot will only play a role in. And so the funding that Councilwoman Wood is speaking to is we have some commercial components that is a desire of us to renovate in that building. That's the original gymnasium, natatorium, and auditorium areas. Those are very hard areas to renovate for apartment's sake. And so we've taken on the task to try and to develop commercial lease space. And so we're fortunate to have been included in the City of Lansing's ask to the MEDC. They have a COVID-specific grant that came out. It's called RAP. I don't quite know what the acronym stands for off the top of my head, but our project went in under the
Revitalization and placemaking.
There you go. Revitalization and placemaking application. We are one of many projects, and we did ask for $5 million if awarded for the commercial side of the development. We are gung-ho ahead on the residential. If we do not get the RAP funding from the state for the commercial side, we will still proceed forward with the residential. We actually have included in our budget on the residential piece what we call a white box, or sometimes you'll refer to it as a gray box in construction terms. And so those commercial spaces will still pass city code, will still have necessary mechanicals like HVAC. Until we fill that gap, we may not build out those spaces during this year. Now, if we do receive that funding, and I think as a city we're supposed to find out later this month, the hope and desire is if we get our award, we'll do the commercial development alongside the residential.
So that commercial development will then, you'll be paying taxes?
Correct.
On those sections?
Correct. Yes, the pilot would not give us any sort of tax exemption. It's our understanding that the commercial property would be assessed as any other commercial property is assessed for, or in fact, the way the property right now is assessed. While we're a nonprofit by name and as a registered corporation, we do pay property taxes on that because it's not our offices. And so we pay probably and have, since we took ownership in 2017, about $21,000 to $23,000 a year in property taxes for that building.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Do we have any other questions, comments? Seeing none, we certainly appreciate you all being here.
Thank you.
And as they clear the table, our first speaker will be Jim DeLine, followed by Jody Washington.
Hi, Jim DeLine, 2520 Harding Avenue. Harding Avenue is about 10 blocks due east of the Walter French building on Cedar Street. So it's my neighborhood. And in full disclosure, I'm on the board of directors of the Capital Area Housing Partnership. I am their treasurer. But what an exciting development, and I'm speaking in favor of granting the pilot. You know, to see a building like the Walter French turn into 76 apartments and some commercial space as well. This is a great boon to my neighborhood, to the city of Lansing, and I encourage council to consider this pilot and pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jody Washington, followed by Maureen Nagy.
Hi, Jody Washington, East Side. I will dissent from the popular opinion. I am not in favor of a 4% pilot for 20 years for this project. We know that 4% of their rents collected minus utilities, 4% of that typically is not very much. I am a huge supporter of the Capital Area Housing Project. I am not a supporter of these pilots. I can appreciate that their costs have gone up, but so have ours. Okay, so we have another one that just came on the table tonight. We cannot continue to do this. We had to use the ARPA money that clearly was supposed to be used for other things to meet our budget. In Biden's White House paper that he just released regarding housing, he's not in favor of these large multifamily low-income housing. I don't know how many of you have had to raise children in those projects. I have. It's not good for the people, and it's certainly not good for the children. So I'm a huge opponent of warehousing poverty. At some point, we have to have a true regional conversation about affordable housing. You know what? Poor people deserve to be in Okemos, Hazlet, East Lansing, Bath. Lansing is not the best place always for people that don't have means. They deserve really good roads, services, school districts, and I'm just saying, we can't continue to keep doing what we're doing and then come back and say we have no money. You know, enough is enough. And the support that Biden is trying to do, and he actually suggested using ARPA money for it, is 2 and 4 unit affordable housing, tiny homes, manufacturing housing. This trend is not these big multi-family poor people warehouses. I resented it when I raised my children in it. And it's not the best situation, and I'm sure a lot of people really don't appreciate it. We need to start moving people into home ownership, not keep sticking them in apartments that we can't keep up on the inspections. We have people living in deplorable conditions in our affordable housing in this city, deplorable. Sewage in the basement, feces in the basement, black mold, it goes on and on and on, because we don't have enough code inspectors, but we're gonna take growth back. We're gonna get more affordable housing. We got another pilot here, so I'm just saying, please use your critical thinking skills, and as these pilots come forward, really put some thought to it. Thank you.
Okay, and thank you. We're having a few issues with our clock. The issue, as I understand, is that we could start it, but we can't necessarily stop, reset, and then restart. So we will try to get that worked out. So give us a little grace. We apologize. With that being said, our next speaker is?
Maureen Nagy, followed by Linda Appling.
Hi, good evening, council members. My name is Maureen Nagy, and I'm the Director of Housing Programs at Advent House Ministries, and I'm here to express support for the proposed Walter French project. Advent House has a number of housing programs that work with people experiencing homelessness, and we currently partner with Capital Area Housing Partnership to provide the supportive services for several of their project-based properties. We're all aware that there is a great need in our community for more accessible and affordable housing, and a project like Walter French is an important step in helping to address this problem. This housing model is one that we've seen at Advent House have great success with helping some of the most vulnerable in our community actually get into housing, and then through the wraparound services that we can provide, stay housed. It's not uncommon for individuals who have experienced a housing crisis or who have been chronically homeless to struggle with maintaining their rental. When you provide case management on site and partner with other agencies that can provide some of the most basic needs that are needed for this population, we see fewer tenants return to homelessness. We hope that you will extend your support to the Walter French Project as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Linda Appling, and our last speaker, Loretta Stanaway.
Hello, my name is Linda Appling, and can I move this? This isn't doing right.
Yes, you can. Thank you.
There, is that better?
That is much better. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. My name is Linda Appling. I'm here to discuss the proposal to annex Lansing Township areas into Lansing. I am opposed to this. No mention of the cost associated with this action has been made. You are committing me and other taxpayers in Lansing to an uncertain cost. It is much like a child marriage where the child has no option in terms of that. I see no reason that I should be liable to pay Lansing Township taxes. I was not involved in their decision and feel no responsibility to pay for their poor decision-making involving expenditure of their taxes. This action contrasts with the way you are treating residents of the city who are receiving subsidies for rent. You are evicting them with no confirmed place to go. You could offer these people the ability to purchase their houses on a land contract. In this instance, I do not believe you are representing the will of the people of this city. Instead, you are piling tax increase on top of taxes of an unknown tax increase. You want us to approve a tax proposal for a new city hall that, as near as I could tell, is about $173 million. On top of that, you are willing to commit the city of Lansing to an unknown tax liability by putting ballot proposals A and B on the November ballot. Together, I think those two come up to about $200 million from the rough information I can get from newspapers. And in terms of what I saw in, I think it was the City Pulse revolving this. I ask that you reject these proposals, number 6 and 7. There needs to be more information in terms of the potential tax liability that we face. Thank you.
Thank you. The last speaker is Loretta Stanaway.
Well, I would have to second everything that was just said, and the information that I've been able to gather so far indicates that if this passes as it's written now, that the city, under the advice of the mayor, would absorb the tax liability of Lansing Township residents to the tune of somewhere in the ballpark of $250,000 a year for 18 years. And then the counter argument is that, well, we'll get income from these residents moving into our jurisdiction. We don't have any firm numbers that I've seen and that have been made public that indicate how that conclusion was reached. The majority of these residents, as near as I can tell, will be seniors and retired people on limited incomes, paying limited income taxes, and not having students pushed into the school system to help supplement our needs there. Instead, we would be adding to the burdens of services required for police and fire, roads, snow removal, etc. And Mr. Mayor, I have to say, I listened to the scanner enough to know how much mutual aid is required from one municipality to the other, and on any given day, we require 5 or 6 times more mutual aid from the other communities than they get from us. I don't see that changing if we absorb more citizenry from them. I think that the residents in Lansing Township are acting out of a little bit of a fear. From what I understand from their administration, they have something in the works which may, in 6 months, give them a whole different outlook, in which case they might not want to be annexed into the city. I don't see any reason to rush this. If it's going to happen at all, it needs to be taken incrementally with a lot more information, a lot more detail, a lot more explanation of how numbers were arrived at. As it stands now, it looks to me like the only thing guaranteed in this is that we're responsible for their debt. There's nothing else that's guaranteed. And it seems to me that what it amounts to is taxing our current citizens without representation. Thank you.
Thank you. That was our last speaker. So on to referral to public hearing.
Development and Planning.
And then next we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Wood.
Thank you. On the consent agenda this evening, we have the appointment of Jim DeLine as the second ward member of the Board of Ethics for a term to expire June 30th, 2026. And we also have the reappointment of Kendrick Hall as the CBB designee member for the Lansing Entertainment and Public Authority Board of Commissioners for a term to expire June 30th, 2025. And I would move these items on the consent agenda.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and if Mr. DeLine wants to come down to be sworn in. All right, thanks so much.
Is the mic here? Since you're the one giving you're swearing in. Raise your hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and will faithfully discharge the duties of office of Board of Ethics member according to the best of your ability?
I will.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, congratulations. We certainly appreciate your service. That takes us to resolutions for action. The first resolution that we have before us tonight is an appointment for Eric Schertzing as an at-large member of the Board of Review for a term to expire June 30th, 2025. Vice President Wood.
Thank you, President Hussein. As the President indicated, this is an appointment of Eric Schertzing for the Board of Review. Part of the requirements for this board does not require them to live inside the city for a year. Our other boards and commissions do require that. So I want to clarify that in case anyone who knows Mr. Schertzing and knows that he's not been a member of our community for a year, that he is still eligible to be appointed to this board. The Board of Review looks at issues dealing with appeals on property tax, and based on his experience as the Ingham County Treasurer, feels that he has the needed requirements to fulfill this position. So with that, I would move this resolution.
All right, there's a motion on the floor for the discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Next, we are to ballot proposal for request Lansing Township residents to annex the city of Lansing Area A.
Vice President Wood.
Thank you. Before us, we have a resolution that would have the clerk, our city clerk, refer this to the Lansing Township to be placed on the ballot for, pardon?
My apologies, Madam Vice President. I think we referred to the Ingham County Clerk. I think you were right the first time.
And then I corrected myself.
Yeah, you were right the first time.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to the Ingham County Clerk, not the city clerk, okay. To the Ingham County Clerk to be placed on the ballot for Lansing Township. There are two sections, Section A and Section B. There has been some talk about the indebtedness that could be coming to the city during the committee of a whole. The mayor explained that 20% of the current debt, which is $33.2 million, would be moved over, which equates to $6.6 million that would be spread out until 2024. The Lansing estimates that we will receive at least 1.5 million per year in revenues, and if we were just looking at property taxes, that would be 1.287 million in property taxes. And we would pay approximately $250,000 a year to Lansing Township as part of that debt. So with that, I would move the resolution, and I'm not sure whether the administration has anything they'd like to add to that.
Yep, actually, perfect timing. Mayor Shore, do you want to address anything?
Yeah, thank you, and that was a great summary. The only correction I would make is that not until 2024, until 2040. So it would be 18. It would be spread out over 18 years. I think you just misspoke. If that's, no, yeah, the cost would be about 6.6 million, according to the numbers we received from the county treasurer, and the revenues would be, again, 6.6 million spread over 18 years is about 250,000 a year, and the revenues would be about $1.25 million in property tax and about $250,000 in income tax. So the projections are about 1.5 million. You've got the information, which certainly I assume you'll add to the city council minutes so that the public will have an opportunity to see that as well, and we can provide that to anybody that would like to have it. So it's a win for the city. Certainly there are issues that we'll have to work on. You raised some questions about code and police and fire, and we've done a lot of homework on all of this. I'm not going to go through all the Q&A again unless you'd like me to. But we've done a lot of work on this. Our staff has done incredible work on this. Our assessor, Sharon Frischman, our treasurer, Desiree Kirkland, working with the county treasurer, Alan Fox. So we're working through all these numbers. And I think that this would, I think it's, at the end of the day, the residents of the township, or at least 120 of them, requested the opportunity to vote on this. In looking at it, I believe if they were to pass it, it would be good for the city, but it's really their decision. So this resolution would ask the county clerk to put this on their ballot for November. I think we should honor that request, and then it's really up to the residents of the area, and if they vote for it, I think this would be a win for the city. We've got a neighborhood that is half in the city and half in the township, and again, we've got a garbage truck that goes up Chester and stops and turns around. I mean, you wouldn't know if you're in the city or in the township unless you knew what the different streetlights look like. Other than that, this is a neighborhood divided by two communities, and if the residents are interested in coming in, then I'm interested in bringing them in, especially because it's not a burden for the city. So that's where I'm at. That's the numbers. I'm happy to answer any further questions of council members.
All right, so there is a motion on the floor. Councilman Daniels.
Just a quick question for clarification. So you were saying 1.5 million a year, let's say if we're saying over the payoff period over the next 18 years.
Yeah.
So it'd be 27 million bringing in and paying out 6.6.
Well, that's 1.7 million a year based on today's numbers. Theoretically, we're going to grow, and we're going to see that area grow, and property values will grow. So that's the minimum. And then 6.6 million is our maximum exposure, depending on judgments and things like that. So yes, that would be our minimum that we would bring in versus the maximum exposure.
Vice President Wood?
The only recommendation I would give to the administration, if this passes and is placed on the ballot, that you not wait until November to come up with a plan to determine how to bring in code, how to bring in all these other factors. We've seen this before. If we're scrambling from November to January trying to figure it out when we've got these months ahead of time, we need to make sure that we're doing what we need to do. So again, we don't have some of the issues that I talked about during Committee of a Whole.
I 100% concur.
Okay.
Councilman Jackson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Honestly, as much people that sling mud at Lansing and talk about bad things about Lansing, I'm kind of flattered that there's a group or a township or some neighborhood that wants to join Lansing. And ultimately, I'm going to support putting it on the ballot for the Lansing Township group, because even if the mayor's and the administration's numbers are only half right and they're off, it still sounds like we're gonna increase our revenue, and we always talk about different ways to get more money for the city so that we can provide services and programs and all these things that we want to do. And we know that property tax is one of the biggest revenue sources. So how do we increase property tax? We either build more property or acquire property, build more houses or acquire property with houses on it. So, you know, I always lost at Monopoly, but if I could, I know that we put houses on so we get more property. And it sounds like, especially since it's enclosed around the city, that the added services, whether it's police, fire, code, it's not gonna be that hard for them to overcome that neighborhood since it's already in the service area. So I'll be supporting that, and it sounds like the city will gain revenue from this, even with the debt that's been discussed. So I think that, you know, I mean, unless we don't trust the mayor's numbers here, and by mayor I mean administration and the treasury and all these people, it's assessors, different jurisdictions, unless we don't trust them, then it sounds like we're gonna make money, so I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
All right, are there further comments, questions? All right, seeing none, again, this is pertaining to the resolution just for Area A. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, next we are to Area B.
Vice President Wood.
Thank you, and this would be the same explanation that I made before. Ingham County, this would be forwarded on to the Ingham County Clerk, and this would be on the ballot in Lansing Township for November. And again, the same numbers that we talked about before. And with that, I would move this resolution.
All right, there's a motion on the floor for the discussion. Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, next we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. If anyone would like to speak on city-related matters, you have 1 more minute to complete the yellow form, if you haven't done so already, and get that to Suella. So then next we are the reports of city officer boards, commissions, communication petitions. And I understand we are pulling item 11 from that referral list.
Yep, and then we do have the late item as well. Vice President Wood.
Thank you, Mr. President. At this time, I would move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by you, Mr. President.
All right, there's a motion on the floor for the discussion. Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right, items from city clerk, minutes and boards commissions.
Place on file.
Items from the mayor, reappointment of Katie Alexander as the at-large member of the planning board for a term to expire June 30th, 2026.
Development and planning.
Grant accepts and burn justice assistance grant in the law department.
Ways and means.
All right, we're pulling that. Solar purchase from the public services department of the Boston Construction for Boston Construction as a vendor for sidewalk construction.
Ways and means.
Then we have another sole source for Mattoon and Lee equipment as a vendor of a new drive for mixer.
Ways and means.
Then we have a professional pump as a vendor for rebuilding the chopper pump.
Ways and means.
Then we have the police department request for Michigan, the vendor for training police and policy consultant.
Ways and means.
And then we have another from the police department for the all city management services, which is a vendor for our school crossing guards.
Ways and means.
Communications petitions, we have a claim appeal, 1894, from Paul Khalif for trash fees at 5736 LaPorte Drive.
City operations.
Then we have a claim appeal 1901 for 1017 West Hillsdale.
City operations.
And I do want to go back and do those late referrals, the pilot for Hillsdale, West Hillsdale,
Development and planning.
and then the public hearing for the pilot for West Hillsdale.
Development and planning.
All right, so back to the claim appeal. We have at 4904 Richmond Street.
City operations.
Then we have the claim appeal at 1351 Robinson Street.
City Operations.
And then we have a notice from Liquor Control Commission of Old Bags Nails Pub requesting a new SDM license issue under MCL 436-1533 5A and non-transferable in conjunction with the new Class C license issued under 436-1521, non-transferable redevelopment license, new Sunday sales permit for a Class C license, spirits and male spirit drink, a new outdoor service area, new dance permit.
City Operations.
And then we also have another notice for Harry's Lounge, request for a new ad bar permit for a total of 2 bars.
City Operations.
Okay, next is motion of excused absence.
Okay, so for the record, we do have a request by Councilman Spatafor for an excused absence. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion by Vice President Wood. Further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right, then we're next to remarks by council member.
Do we have other council member remarks that were not shared earlier? The only thing I want to go on record is actually an apology to City TV. My understanding is that the issues actually, with regards to streaming from Ustream, the traditional Ustream, actually arose earlier today. And I think I said that they were actually grappling with those issues for a few days. So that is totally my fault, and I apologize. Thank you.
Remarks from the mayor.
Mayor Shore? Okay.
Okay, next we're on public comment on city government related matters. You have 3 minutes to speak. First speaker is Michael Lynn, followed by Kyle Richard.
You guys got me. I signed way late, so I'd be last, but that's cool. First of all, I wanted to talk on, I am in support of the People's Council, obviously. But secondary to that, the Lansing Planning Board special meeting that was held today stated due to safety concerns resulting from COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting will be accessible to the public on Microsoft Teams via this link, and they send out a link. So I just feel like this is something we can get done. And I think that I'm here stating that I'm in support of you all's responses to the requests for accessibility as far as public comment via Zoom or however we can make that happen. I support you all. I mean, your guys' response back to us was that you want to see this. Most council that I've spoken to say they want to see some form of transparency in committee meetings. So if that's true, then I support you in that. But secondary, I want to talk about something different, off topic completely. I don't know if you all caught America. I'm sure most of you all did. I've seen you all on there. We had a email come to us by the HR department of City of Lansing, and an email was sent out to a potential firefighter. And it was for a psychological eval, which is okay. I mean, obviously, I didn't go through a psych eval in 2014 when I hired on. And I don't believe they started doing that until probably 3 classes after me, when I sued for PTSD and so on. They had to put some stopgaps in place. Because they couldn't blame it on anything in my history outside of what I went through at work. So you guys did this, and that's okay, whatever the case is, but the information that was on this that they were requesting was extremely, it was just invasive. I'm sure you've all seen it. Nobody's talking about it. I think that's ridiculous that the people that I know who are in that class, and I shouldn't say that, people that I'm aware of have actually filled that out and turned it in already. And my issue with that is, and my concern is for the council and us as People's Council and us as taxpayers, is that we keep allowing stuff like this through, and that's why you guys have to keep having meetings in the back room and closed door sessions, because we keep getting sued. So this was brought to their attention before anybody filled it out, and then it was still allowed to be filled out by individuals that are hiring on at the fire department. It was asking questions about sexuality. I mean, words of homosexuality, if you enjoy sex, how you enjoy sex, how does it make you feel during sex, questions about alcohol and how that happened, how that helps your sexual life. I mean, these type of questions that it was asking, it asked religion. And if anybody signed these and filled these out, we're now liable for lawsuits if they come back on it. And I believe there were 6 of them that filled those out. And what I was told is that these have been being done for the last 4 years or so, 3 or 4 years. So I don't know at any point in time somebody could come forward, and here we are again, getting sued for this type of thing. And if any negative work action was taken based off of answer they made on that, here you go for discrimination. This is the type of stuff that keeps allowing to be happening.
Thank you.
Outside of that, my arbitration is the 30th. I'll be sitting right here fighting for my job back from discrimination. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Kyle Richard, followed by Belinda Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I'm here tonight to share individual perspective and individual experience with the city of Lansing. Once upon a time, 1 year ago, there was a tree in front of my house, in between the sidewalk and the street. And this was a beautiful tree. Sometimes when I walked past it, I would touch it. Just sit there with it. It was nice. One day, the city of Lansing truck comes through, puts a big X on the tree, marks it for execution. All right, I guess, it's between the sidewalk and the street, so, all right. Time passes, I forget about the X. Maybe it doesn't mean what I think it means. One day, I'm walking back from the bus stop, and I turn the corner, and where the tree once was, it's now a stump with 2 piles of wood. And I walk over there, and I look at the stump, and I look at the piles of wood, and I touch it. And then I check, and I go, some of these would make really good, like, campfire seats. So I'm gonna take my favorite picks and, put them in the backyard. But first, I'm gonna take a nap. And so I go and I take a nap, and I'm awoken from my nap by the sound of 2 grown men in an unmarked pickup with an unmarked trailer scooping the wood and rolling away with it. All right, it was between the sidewalk and the street. All right. Now, a year later, there is a old rotting stump in front of my house between the sidewalk and the street. And I think I share this story because to me, it highlights how the city of Lansing continuously fails to follow through and get the job done on the things that matter. Obviously, there are things that matter way more than a stump in front of my house. But if the city's going to cut down a tree, a city might as well grind a stump. But I don't really see a city of Lansing that wants to go through with the full task of doing something, unless it's, more funding for the police or, the like. Yeah, I guess on just as a personal note, if anyone would be willing to meet with me by the elevators, either to help me figure out what to do about this stump, I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, next is Belinda Fitzpatrick, followed by 0.
What I want to hear is affordable, single-family homes. I don't want to live in a world with a bunch of people that they grew up in compartments. I don't want to see people warehoused in compartments. I grew up in a single-family home in a lousy neighborhood, the lots of B&Es and stuff like that. But, I want to live in a world where people grew up and they had a yard. Maybe they had a garden. That's why I appreciate my neighbors over here, Shannon and Jerry Norris. And sometimes people will say, what do you think of Jerry's mess? I say, I love Jerry's mess. Yes. What did he call it? Creative chaos. I'm all for creative chaos. That's the way the world's supposed to be. You know, they say, he who controls the food controls the population. All right? I want people to know, to touch the soil, live in the soil, maybe play on the grass, but play in the dirt. I graduated in soil science over at MSU, well, soil science and biochem, and then I went to law school. You know, but it's like, I don't want to hear affordable housing. When you say affordable housing, I think of somebody living in a house, not warehouse. I like what Jody said, you know, not warehoused, living in an affordable house. Now, we've lost, let's see, I got involved in this stuff, I think, back in 2000. And we've lost too many single family homes. I'd really like to know what happened to my friend Delray Finnerty, because I think her house was torn down for no reason. I think that the path to hell is paved with good intentions. And unfortunately, all this focus on code and make safe or demolish has just caused us to lose a lot of these houses. I think I'm an expert on this subject, because like I went out to the East Coast and every place around 1987 looking at other places and decided, hey, Lansing, where you could afford to own a single family home, was the place to be.
Thank you. So we have 0, followed by Jerry Norris. Zeros left. Okay, next Jerry Norris, followed by Shannon Norris.
She's a Republican. You might not think I get along with Republicans. Jerry Norris, Ward 4, business in Ward 1. I want to sincerely thank you all for coming to our meetings, for doing extra work that you have to do for the city, for working Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, your staff. I know I heard what you guys were talking about when we walk in. I want to thank you all that sincerely. You know, it's sort of like people that live in poverty. They don't get a break. It's 24/7. There's no snow days. There's no, vacations and time off. It's 24/7, like you guys have experienced a lot of times in your lives, I'm sure. Though I think when we think about people living in poverty like that, we think that, well, they're working on themselves. They're working on, trying to be better or whatever. But the people who are living in poverty, when they work 24/7, they're working for us. They're filling gaps. They are taking care of their children, trying to figure out how they're going to feed them. A single mother, again, 50% probability of living in poverty. She's taking care of our mess, not our kid, but she's raising our next citizens. A grandmother who lost their child to a substance use disorder is taking care of their grandparent or their grandchild. But it doesn't have to be this way. Poverty remains a policy decision. I'm probably going to say this every time I come to this meeting. You make the policy, you set the tone, especially the leader, the CEO. I've been a CEO a lot, and the buck does stop with you. But it shouldn't have to be this fight. It should be that we don't have to come here and fight for basic needs and just, these people make me cry when they talk. They make me cry because, I don't know, I'm so sad that we have to do this. I always tell everyone, punch up, never punch down, never punch sideways, always punch up. But when we punch up, you're in the way. This is due to inequity and opaqueness. it's sorry, it's providing unjust results. So when this is fixed, though, when you join us, when all of our citizens have basic needs, imagine what we could do. We could be safe, secure, we could have food and shelter, we could thrive. Transparency is more than a process, it's a result. I love what you did, but let's see how many people apply, let's see the process, and opening up is going to show you just what we can do to help. You've taken a good step. It's not even close to what we have to do,
Thanks, Jerry.
but we're going to show you how we can
Thanks so much.
Okay, next is Sharon Norris, followed by Jim Ott.
Hi, you started before I did. I'd like to start with the mission statement of Lansing Housing Commission. It is committed to the development and management of quality, affordable, and fair housing options in a compassionate, healthy, and safe way. LHC will deliver impactful resident services while maintaining the highest performance standards and outcomes. That's weird. I haven't seen that, and I've been visiting a lot of houses. The people have been seeking city council help on the issues, and we have all been told by you all that you have no power. The city council has no power, nothing you can do. It's all on the mayor. The mayor, in fact, is the person who selected the LHC board and manages that solely. None of you guys have any control. Regardless of your lack of power, however, as city council members, on July 13, one of you attended the emergency meeting held by the Lansing Housing Commission, where the resolution to sell 240-plus properties was again presented to the commission by Doug Fleming, whom one of you have an intimate relationship with. This was after the board had voted the sale down
Can I stop you real quick? We certainly, go and stop.
This was after the board had voted the sale down 2 weeks.
If I can stop you just for 1 second. I just want to make sure.
Stop the
that-
clock then,
No,
please.
Yeah, we'll restore it. I just want to make sure that we're not making accusations.
It's not an
I
accusation.
understand, but if we could keep it to the business as opposed to personal relationships and things like that, I'd appreciate it.
It's conflict of interest. As you all know, then those things need to be signed, and you're still running the clock. I'll finish everything then.
All right, thank you. We appreciate it.
This was after the board had voted the sale down 2 weeks prior, pending further investigation into all the horrible living conditions the residents are forced to live in, which we have photographic proof, and into the inequitable RFP process, leaving out every single nonprofit in the community that works in this field. One of you encouraged the LHC board to make the hard decision, even though the public was making it hard, referencing your own trouble with public opinion, and told them that they should know that the city council knows how hard the decision is, but encourages them, LHC, to make that decision anyway. Amazingly, you don't get the irony. One of you personally have been in the loop of the public outcry about the sale since Friday, April 29 at a minimum, when Doug Fleming included two of you on an email exchange between him and me with regard to the horrible housing he has been responsible for perpetuating on Lansing's poorest community. Additionally, on May 26, every single one of you and the mayor received an email from me with a new HUD plan that said not to sell houses to outside entities, rather keep them with local nonprofits. You've all had plenty of time, and the ad hoc housing board has had time to read and learn about the downsides to selling to an outside investor, and time to learn what concentrated poverty does to a community. What is super disappointing is that there were more than 20 people there that evening at LHC asking for them to stop the sale, and many before at every meeting asking for months. But there one of you was encouraging the Lansing Housing Commission board to sell off property to an out-of-state investor. Not just out-of-state, but out of country. When public opinion says do something or don't to a publicly elected official, that is what you are supposed to do. A drive to encourage sitting boards to ignore popular opinion is reason enough why one of you need to leave public office. Again, with the mayor, you are responsible for the LHC board. Your interest in supporting the sale of LHC houses to an Israeli company that is setting up little LLCs all over Michigan, you can check Laura for that, to capitalize on the housing market, which is what they were quoted as doing when they were asked about bombings. They said they were coming here to Michigan to capitalize on the housing market, and I can give you that. And so, Mayor, and by the way, that RFP that was accepted by LHC was dated December 17, 2021 by an SK Investment with an address in Southfield, Michigan. But when you look at Laura, that SK Investment with that address didn't even exist in Laura until May of 2022. Mayor, stop the sale. You can do it. It's what everybody is asking for except for a few, some of them with an interest. We're asking you to offer the RFP again. Just put it out there again. Read the HUD material that says, let your nonprofits have it, and then whatever you can't take care of, then you let outside investors come in.
Shannon.
Lansing is 55% rental.
Thank you.
How does Lansing get wealthy after that?
Thanks so much.
Move with transparency, include the community.
Speaker is Jim Ott, followed by Loretta Stanaway.
Mayor, I gotta apologize a little bit from mid-June. We're down here on the American Rescue Plan premium pay, and you quoted telling me that seasonals were not permitted to receive that, which is incorrect by your top negotiator, Elizabeth O'Leary. Well, we're here again with another 25 million coming. You still got 11 employees. You might have more than that. I heard Code Compliance didn't receive it either, but don't know for sure. Well, you got 11 employees that worked through the whole summer that year, while a lot of the full-timers were on furlough or they were on a 4-day work week. I come down and dumped your trash every Friday all summer down in the basement because you didn't have anybody here except for the seasonals. So we're back here again asking you look at it again, the city council too, that there's 11 people that did not receive any premium pay. And I don't think anything in here in rescue plan says seasonals can't do it and can't receive it. I think that was my UAW and your chief negotiator set the time and the dates, which is not in the original American Rescue Plan. So I think you should start looking at that again. And with the city employees that worked all summer, they didn't receive nothing but $13.50 an hour, while your full-timers were on 4 days a week and your other guys are furloughed. And we took care of most of the city while they were gone. And we did get COVID a couple of times. So if anybody deserves it, we deserve as much as the full-time people in the city of Lansing that work for you. So with that, I will, Kathy?
That was it.
All right, thank you very much.
Next is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Julia Miller. Julia Miller, followed by Linda Appling.
Sorry, trying to get that. Okay. Hi, I'm Julia Miller. I'm a Ward 1 resident and I am a member of the People's Council. I'm here to speak on accessibility. I am coming to you as a person with a disability. I have good days and I have bad. Today is a good day. There are days that it hurts to walk, to sit, to stand, to drive. On those days, getting up, driving downtown, sitting in these uncomfortable seats, standing at this podium, I would be visibly wincing in pain. I have actually been wincing in pain tonight. On those days, I cannot be an active participant in my community and attend these meetings. It would be easier to be sitting at home and still be able to participate. It would be easier for me to show support by giving a heart emoji on a screen instead of trying to stand. I see from a notification today from the Lansing Planning Board's meeting tonight was made accessible via Microsoft Teams. That proves that if one can be made, all meetings regarding city issues can be accessed hybrid. Yes, they can be viewed via television, but are people watching at home able to make comment or show support?
The only reason to maintain the lack of accessibility is to stifle a citizen's ability to participate in the decisions regarding their community and to give the decision makers the ability to say that they weren't aware of people's opinions. I urge you on behalf of those who have issues participating in person to expand these meetings to include a hybrid option. I've also heard from several people who would be willing to volunteer their own time, Zoom account, and computer to do so if having a city employee is not an option. I applaud Councilperson Hussein's announcement of offering more accessibility options earlier this evening. Please don't let this be an empty or broken promise. Citizens should be able to have as many options as possible to engage with the decisions regarding their community. And with that, I will yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Next is Linda Appling, followed by Ryan Fatino.
I don't have a lot to say. My name is Linda Appling, and I live in the city of Lansing. But I would like to, in part, address the code compliance issue. I'm extremely concerned in terms of the way Lansing does this. Code compliance frequently involves individuals who are at the lower end of the economic scale. I see no reason why the city should not set up its attorneys to assist those individuals in terms of being able to have escrow accounts. Obviously, if they are receiving subsidized housing, they do not have the money to hire an attorney and to set up an escrow account. Or an escrow account set up, that in part, as I understand, it could be used to pay for the deficiencies in terms of the buildings that they have or that they are occupying. If the city feels that the attorney that we're paying our tax monies for, and I'm not too certain what the attorney does, cannot do it, then they can give money to various organizations to allow them to pay for the escrow in terms of that. But the money should be set up. You should not continue to have code compliance and then say, well, we can't do anything about it. You can do something about it. The second thing I wish to bring up, if the city council says that they can't do something in terms of the housing commission, well, the city council should set up a charter and put that on the ballot so that the people can give them more power so that they can address the issue. I see no reason that you use as a reason that you can't do anything because the power and authority rests with the mayor. You can change that. You can modify the city council charter itself. You can put that on the ballot so that the people can vote on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Fatino, followed by John Moran.
It's Fantino. Hi, good evening. Ryan Fantino. I live in the Rio Town neighborhood. I gather this is not the forum to ask specific questions and get an answer from the council. Is that accurate?
You're correct. This is your time to provide public comment. One of the
Okay,
things,
so
and
the
just to, if we can pause it, just to explain, what we don't want to do is set, thank you. We don't want to essentially establish an inherent advantage for those folks that are actually able to attend in person. And so that's always been the rules, that this is actually an opportunity to provide public comment because we also take written comment.
Okay.
And so we don't want to, again, build in that inherent advantage. But that being said, and city attorney can see my screen, we do take copious notes, and I can promise you if there is a question that I can answer, I'll respond to you tomorrow.
Okay. Well, this council is already familiar on my thoughts regarding 927 South Washington, the building known as Washington Apartments. I guess then, I sat through this meeting for 2 hours because nobody has responded to my email that I sent 13 days ago. So I'm just trying to understand what the public's expectations should be around timeliness for communications when your constituents bring issues forward. So I guess that's it. I understand you want to answer questions. I'm not really sure what my next steps are. If you don't respond to email, I can't come to the council meeting and ask my questions. Can you at least tell me what my next step should be?
So I can guarantee you, Councilman Daniels and myself have had discussions. We've also engaged public services, code. We've engaged the city attorney's office over this issue. I've actually responded to you via email a few times. What I can promise you is we'll set up a conference call with you for tomorrow to go over the issues.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, you can't do that. I mean, my schedule is
Then
jammed
what I can
tomorrow.
do
I
is
mean,
very
you can
quickly,
give me
what I
an
can-
email tomorrow.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
I'll email you tomorrow. We'll communicate tomorrow. We'll set something up in the near future.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, next speaker is John Moran, then Lisa
Hi,
Sadler.
my name is John Moran. Go ahead.
Go, yep.
Last time I was here was Monday, November 19th, 2019. And while I was here, I snagged up Andy Shore. He was the mayor. I told him I was having a lot of problems with the police. I told him that in my neighborhood, all we had was, we had 2 murders in my block. Neither one of them ever solved. One before we moved there and one while we lived there. In the 20 years I lived in Lansing, on 4 occasions, I damn near got murdered. First time was politely asking 3 individuals why they were throwing chunks of ice at a sliding glass door. They tried to beat me to death. The only way it stopped was me swinging bat twice, chasing them off. Second time was in my home on Francis Avenue. Bullets hit in the front of the house. Another one went into it, landed at my feet in my dining room. On both them occasions, the same detective was in charge. His name was Gil. On the first occasion, he told me I had it coming because he played the race card. I'm sorry to say, but it doesn't matter what color you are. Anybody can be a racist. And in my eyes, he was a racist. He used the race card against me to justify me getting beat half to death, leaving me with thousands of dollars in medical bills. When my house got shot up, I had concerns about the officer, what he was saying regarding the shooting and what he was doing during his investigation. I got a copy of the police report. I FOIA'd it. I called Gil. He was the investigator, detective in charge. He turned around and asked me how I got the police report. I said I FOIA'd it. He turned around and asked me why. I said because I had concerns about what the officer said. And for my insurance company, as soon as I said I had insurance, he turned around and started screaming through the phone. You've got insurance and you're wasting my fucking time? Don't ever fucking call me again.
Sir,
This is what he said.
No, and I understand
This
that,
is what he
but
said.
please,
Screaming at
could
me
we
on the
please-
phone.
no, I understand.
I went to
Could we please
internal
refrain from
affairs.
obscenities?
It went
Thank you.
downhill from there. I called the police chief, no return calls. I called the mayor's office, no return calls. Then I come seeing you. And you turned around and told me, go see Mark Lawrence. At the time, he was on leave for a baby, so I waited, and then what did he do? He passed the buck. He passed it to the same guy that I tried to call dozens of times in the past, the investigator, the citizen complaint investigator, and as soon as I mentioned Gil, he throws me out of his office. The buck stops with you. I came to you for help. I ended up going bankrupt. I lost my house. I damn near lost my job because of what the cops did. They went as far as to call my job.
We certainly appreciate the comment, and I'm
So
assuming
I just need
that,
you to do your job.
and I'm assuming that we may have
Can
some
you
follow-up
do
from
that,
the administration's
Mayor?
office. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Can you
it.
do that? Can you investigate
Sir.
this? Can you get some real cops to
Sir,
investigate?
I really don't want to have to rule you out of order. Please, okay? We appreciate your comments.
All I
And
can
if there's
say is,
something to follow.
don't beg, because I begged
will.
him to help me. I
Okay.
begged him to help.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
I begged you.
Next is Lisa Sadler, followed by William Lawrence.
Be a man. Do your job.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Sadler, and I am a resident of Waverly Place, formerly known as Mount Vernon. Waverly Place has recently undergone its completion of the RAD conversion. Upon the completion of the RAD conversion, a considerable amount of residents have confided in me with many concerns, which include, but do not exclude, rent increases without little or no explanation of how rent was calculated, as well as residents not being notified of increase of rent within 30 days per LHC administrative rules. Electrical issues such as circuit breakers shorting out with new dishwashers over-the-oven microwaves are being used, otherwise known as inoperable. Residents being blamed for reasonable repairs that the contractors' unprofessional or inadequate skills as a result of their skills were formed. No reasonable accommodations for persons ranging from moderate to severe disabilities. Barriers that have been structured around our garbage dumpsters that pose as a blind spot. Plumbing issues that existed before RAD and upon that still persist. LHC, clarity on whether LHC or Mid-Michigan Asset, whether we are under their administrative rules. Overall, uninhabitable housing. Fair housing is a need that will never be accomplished by Doug Fleming's deeds. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is William Lawrence, followed by our last speaker, Kelsey Hudson.
Hi, William Lawrence, Fourth Ward. Also want to speak on the housing issue. I'll just say that I've approached this issue around the LHC trying to be as fair and open as possible and take the LHC, the commissioners, their staff, Doug Fleming, at his word and at their word when they say what they're trying to do and that it's all for the best. And just how things have unfolded. Because honestly, on the housing issue, I don't think fighting over one particular facility is honestly the most important thing that we need right now. I would rather all be focused on how to protect tenants holistically through the law. I would rather be focused on how to build thousands of new affordable housing units so that we can actually push prices down and have more housing supply in the city as a whole. There's a lot of things, me personally, I would really rather be thinking about than the conditions at the LHC in particular, because it's one piece of such a bigger puzzle. And yet, the record from the LHC management has just been unacceptable and has made it impossible to trust what they're saying about the ongoing Section 18 deal. To take what Ms. Lisa just had to say, she heard the same song and dance that everything was going to be good, there were going to be so many tens of thousands of dollars of repairs made, it was all going to be for the best after they did the RAD conversion. And what is actually happening is that people are getting their rent changed, everything you just heard from her. I've been up there, I've talked to the residents up there, and this is real, this is real. And then Doug Fleming comes back before the cameras and he wants to give a completely different story and then say that it's going to go well for the scattered sites as well. So all I'll say is that it may be that everything happening here is totally legal and totally above board, but I gotta say, it really stinks. And it seems like it's gonna keep stinking. I think we may be at the beginning of what could be months and months, maybe years of unfolding revelations about what the heck is going on with this LHC deal with SK, because nobody can get to the bottom of it. For instance, we heard from Fleming that things, SK has been a great owner manager in Pontiac where they did a similar deal. In fact, SK's LLCs in Pontiac have been cited by the city for over 200, it may be even over 300 violations of code in the last 4 years since they took over ownership of those properties. They have accrued $80,000 of unpaid fines owing to those code issues, which are still on the record if you search at the city of Pontiac. And so I think people are going to stay fired up on this issue, and I know that it's out of your authority as a council to, through your official authority, do something about it. But I really encourage folks to pay attention to this. Better to deal with it now than to be hearing about it, honestly, for I don't know how many years to come. People are not going to forget about 240 homes that have gone out of this community permanently. It will not go under the rug quickly. Thank you.
Thank you. Our last speaker is Kelsey Hudson.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Hudson, and I'm here to speak on transparency in government and hybrid meetings. My grandfather was a 25-year state trooper, and to our knowledge, the most decorated state detective in the history of Michigan. He did undercover work in the Flint prison system to bust guards that were selling crack to the inmates. He busted many horrible corporations and dedicated his service to basically busting bad cops. And I think that I would be doing a disservice to him to stop fighting for hybrid meetings, because government transparency is incredibly important to me. I'm certainly not making a blanket endorsement of law enforcement, because yeah, I don't want to do that. What I'm saying though is that there's one thing to have people can see this at home, right? That's really important. And I appreciate the effort that is being made, but for transparency of hybrid meetings, of wanting to read public comment. I'm really encouraged by that. We need an option for people who are disabled and cannot leave their house. Like, it just, I guess I'm more curious than upset of what that's going to look like, because it needs to be something where people who like literally need to sit and watch this thing. I also have concerns about public housing and the transparency of that with the sales of the house. But I guess if we can take a moment of silence for my grandpa. He's John Fiedler, served 25 years in service. So we can take a moment to honor that. Yeah, thank you for your time.
That was our last speaker.
All right, folks, at 9:21, we are adjourned.